Depression is mainly defined as a serious medical ailment that is highlighted by the dejected behavior of the person, and even his thinking about himself, and the self-esteem is affected due to this severe kind of an ailment. So basically, you grade this ailment according to the clinical presentation of the person. It can be from the milder form to the moderate and the severe varieties of depression, but still it's considered to be quite a disorder, and it has to be treated in its special manners. So one has to know the core knowledge on how basically this depression is taking place, what is the etiology behind this depression. We'll be discussing them over here, and as well as the clinical presentations are the mainstay and the highlights of this section. Basically, the clinical presentations are quite different in different individuals, and sometimes it's the mood disorders are included in this depressive episodes, and then the depressive episodes and its severity is calculated upon them, and how the life of that individual is being affected. That basically is the important clinical presentation, usually in the outpatient departments. So in this section, we'll be dealing with the history. Whatever fields of medical phenomena that we'll be discussing, the history is the mainstay. But when we're talking about the psychiatric ailments, the history is very important and significant over here, because it basically gives you clues towards the personality disorders that the person can have. And even the history has to be taken from the person himself and the close relatives and the friends. They're going to give you important findings of that person and what changes in behavior they're noticing in that person. So we'll be discussing how to take a history from such a patient of who's having the depressive episodes. So anhedonia and anergias, these are the two important terminologies while we are taking, or we are discussing a patient of depression. So we'll be discussing what do you mean by these terminologies, and how does basically these reflect towards the depressive episode of a person. So the depression in older adults is quite a common phenomena. Why does it occur? What's the etiology behind it? And how do you manage such cases? It's the crux of this section over here. So the history taking, as we were already focusing on this fact that history is very important. You take it from the patient as well as you take it from the socioeconomic circle that he belongs to. The social circle is again very important. His friends, his relatives are very important, and they're going to give you important clues towards the personality traits of the person that you are dealing with. What kind of a personality he had even before this depressive episode is very important. Melancholia is basically a terminology which was used in the past, and that basically when you look at the word, it's basically founded off these two words, that is melon and cholia. Melon is usually means black, and cholia is the fluid in the gallbladder. So it was thought in the past that due to this collection of black fluid in the gallbladder, this depressive episode comes into play in a person. So that's why this terminology, which means melancholia, was used for this depressive episodes previously in the past. So it basically describes the severe depression in a person, and previous belief of depression was the accumulation of black bile, and bile is usually terminized as the coal in a lot of diseases, as well as for example, you can say the cholithiasis, when we find stones in the gallbladder. So it extends into the medicalization of unhappiness. So when you medicalize unhappiness, obviously unhappiness is a natural phenomena that you see in person to person, but it's not always medicalized. It's only medicalized when it's basically affecting your day-to-day life. So that is when a medical intervention is needed, and some treatment modalities have to come into play to save that person. So depression of the clinical significance, basically a depressive disorder, we mean by that. And the clinical features that include are the depressed mood. So that is the basic clinical presentation over here that we usually talk about. The central feature of depression is basically the depressed mood. That is the highlight. So the person is basically in a state of dejection and he feels neglected while he is in this depressed mood. So there's an improvement response to the positive events. Now, what are the positive events that we're talking about in such a state? It can be a visit by a friend. It can be the winning of your favorite football team. So these basically mark the positive events in the life of a person, and basically the person's mood is elevated by such positive events in his or her life. So depression is not a continuous phenomena in one's life, and sometimes there is a mood elevation seen even in a depressed individual. So moving on, it can be an uncharacteristic tearfulness. Uncharacteristic tearfulness is basically a very common phenomena. The tearfulness will not be associated with any incidents in his life, in his or her life, and usually he won't find himself full of tears in a situation in which he is now facing the tearing phenomena. So that is the highlight over here whenever we are talking about a depressed individual. Then anxiety is another phenomena that the person will face. He'll feel anxious in a lot of situations. He's going to feel that something bad is about to happen. He would be unthoughtful, or he would have bad thoughts or negative thoughts regarding his future. So this is one of the phenomena. He is going to have phobias and anxious disorders. So all of these disorders can be in a multiple or group-like phenomena, and they're concomitant sometimes. Now, another phenomena that is seen in such individuals is the diurnal variation. Diurnal basically means when the person gets up in the depressive episodes, he doesn't feel like going to work or do his favorite activities. And as the time goes on, as the day passes on, his mood stabilizes and he's in a better condition by the end of the day. So this is basically known as the diurnal variation in the mood of the person who is having depression. Now, talking about the clinical features, the person basically loses interest in the day-to-day activities. And basically what happens is the things or the hobbies which he found interesting previously doesn't feel that pleasurable or doesn't feel that interesting now. And even there's a lack of pleasure and enjoyment, and that is also highlighted by the lack of libido or the less libido or the decreased sexual drive. That is also associated with these lack of pleasure and the enjoyment phenomena whenever a person is having the depressive episodes. A term which is known as anhedonia is used for this loss of interest. So this loss of interest is basically marking, or anhedonia is basically marking a depressive episode in this individual that we're talking about. Then in a depressed individual, we also come across anergia or the loss of energy. There is a common presenting complaint, and a differential diagnosis can be given to this loss of energy. Obviously, there can be a lot of myalgias or a lot of physical disorders that can also present to you with loss of energy. The person would feel sick basically, and he would make excuses of not doing work or not performing well due to the lack of energy, although there would be no physical ailment or no physical characteristics would be found in such an individual. Then the loss of energy is also marked by a chronic fatigue phenomena. One of the syndromes that we usually come across is the Munchausen syndrome, in which the person has a fictitious disorder that he's suffering from a certain ailment, but it's only psychological and he's actually having no physical ailments. So it's another syndrome which is known as Munchausen's syndrome that we come across in the outpatient departments. It is going to be a subjectively impaired motivation. The person himself is going to feel that he's not having the energy, although physically he's going to be fit and he's going to be fit to perform all his day-to-day activities, but he doesn't want to perform these activities. He has lost all the energy to perform those activities. Now, the clinical features, as we were already talking about, the loss of interest was marked by the loss of libido or a decreased sexual drive. So it's again another sign of this depression. There's going to be an impaired concentration, and the attention levels are going to be short term or short spanned over here. The reductions in self-esteem and confidence is always noted down. What the person feels about himself is again very important. Whenever you are taking the history, you're going to ask questions related to your self-esteem. The patient is going to be asked how he feels about himself and how he feels about his own image. So he's going to give basically negative remarks, and even he's going to be dejected about his future and the present as well. So, suicidal thoughts on further detailed history taking, he's going to give you signs that he's having suicidal thoughts or having thoughts about ending his life or harming himself. Sleep disturbance is again commonly noted down. The person is going to not have deep sleeps. Episodes of deep sleeps are not going to be there, and he's going to arouse from sleep almost 1 or 2 hours before the time that he's usually having to get up in the morning. So basically the arousal time is going to be backed up, and the sleep time and the deep sleep time is affected in such cases of depressive episodes. Now, the loss of appetite is another phenomena, but we usually come across that the depressed individuals usually come up and say that they have gained weight, and that is another phenomena. So both of the variations can be seen in the depressed individuals. Either they lose their appetite and lose weight accordingly, or either they have an increased appetite and they gain weight accordingly in a lot of cases. Then we have the psychomotor changes as well. The obsessive compulsive disorder, they'll have the obsessed thoughts that about anything. It can be about the cleanliness or the hygiene problems, and they're going to get compulsive about it, that some act has to be done to get those obsessive thoughts in action. So this is basically the phenomena that you see in such individuals. Then the delusions. So delusions are basically some firm thoughts that the person has, some firm beliefs that the person have, but those beliefs are basically wrong. And when you further investigate from the relatives and the friends and the social circle, you'll get to know that those delusions are basically not in reality, and the person is basically fascinating those thoughts, and still they're going to have a firm belief that their thoughts are pure and correct. Now, dysthymia is another terminology, and in which basically you lose interest and you feel dejected or you feel ill, and sickness is going to prevail in such situations of dysthymia. Now, depression in older adults is a common phenomena that is usually seen. It is the increased rates in the females is quite commonly seen. Why does it happen? It's basically the females are socially more vulnerable. And another phenomena is at the time of menopause. Obviously, the hormonal imbalances, they play their important role whenever we talk about depression in such individuals. Distinct syndrome of postmenopausal depression, it's quite distinct, and usually you see a depressive episode in women who have passed on the menopausal stage. Hormonal changes are the basic etiology behind it, and basically they cause the physical symptoms as well as the psychological symptoms. And then there is a phenomena which is known as the empty nest syndrome. The children are usually leaving the homes, and the older individuals are lonely, and this phenomena is basically termed or regarded as the empty nest syndrome. And in such individuals, basically the social circles, the friends and the relatives, they play a pivotal role to get these older individuals out of these depressive episodes. Obviously, the medical interventions are very important, and upon starting the SSRIs or the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, such individuals can come out of these depressive episodes quite successfully. Now, the somatic symptoms are very common in these older adults, and the prevalence in the nursing homes is again very important, because there is this a clustering phenomena. A lot of individuals will be suffering from the same feelings, and those feelings will cluster upon, and they're going to be agitated, and the feelings are going to get more stronger with the passage of time. So the individuals or the older individuals who are in the nursing homes, they're more affected by such depressive episodes. The concomitant painful physical illnesses, obviously the illnesses which were already there, as if they were suffering from diabetes mellitus or hypertension or ischemic heart diseases, all of these diseases are going to magnify in symptomatically as well due to these depressive episodes, and they're going to multiply accordingly. Now, the association between depression and dementia is very common, and the person is going to get forgetful even about his daily chores. So that is going to mark the dementia in such depressive individuals. Then there's going to be a dysfunction in the hypothalamic pituitary axis. So this hypothalamic pituitary axis, adrenal axis is again very important. HPA axis is again very important, and this is going to get dysfunctional in such individuals with depression. There's going to be a depressive pseudo dementia, which is going to mimic the normal dementia as well. So in this section, basically we highlighted how the patients are going to present to you in the outpatient department, so you can basically start off with the medical intervention. That is the end of this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.